Another night of severe weather across the south. Today, it's the central Gulf states under severe weather risk. We've got three working tornado watches at the moment as a storm system, one low sitting up in the upper Midwest, and another low developing along right over the Mississippi River in Louisiana, all pulling up tropical moisture, and we're getting thunderstorms. Meanwhile, one last day in the Northeast before the curse of the onshore flow takes effect, and we will, of course, take a look at the long range where a blocking pattern has set up. All that and more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. And now, of course, it's about spring, and it's about mulch, and it's about different colors of mulch and topsoil and gravel and anything else you need to make your home the envy of the neighborhood this coming landscape season. So whether you are an individual or you're a landscaper, head over to Omni. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website, as we all know, as only Joe Rayo can say it, is
OmniTrueValue.com. Don't forget, it's at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue, West Babylon, 631-756-1125. We're getting ready, and we hope you are too, Joe.
well, that was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. All right. So,
Thank you.
Yes, it was amazing. Uh, so here we are, and Joe Rayo will, of course, as he always does, he will be monitoring the chat board tonight with fervor. So if you happen to see Joe, and if you see any questions or comments, you will, of course, make them known publicly. And also, for those of you who are new to the YouTube channel, welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. I'm Joe Chaffee, and that is Joe Rayo. And we've known each other for over 4 decades. We go back a long, long way. So if you like the show, hit the like button.
Long way.
Yes. If you like the show, hit the like button on the video, and if you really like it, subscribe using your Gmail account so you can watch the Joe and Joe Show, which is on 5 days a week on most weeks, usually on Sundays at 11 a.m. and usually on weekdays Monday through Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time, which is what we're on now. Uh, anyhow, we've got another busy severe weather night, although I just took a quick look. And it doesn't appear as we don't have as many warnings up like we did last night when we had well over 2 dozen at one point going on at the same time. It's still some rough weather is showing up on the radars, and tomorrow and the next day, which is Thursday, as this thing moves eastward, Joe, it's going to start losing a little bit of its punch. So I'm thinking that after tonight, yeah, there are going to be severe weather threats tomorrow and severe weather threats on Thursday, but they should not be as widespread as today or yesterday.
I'm still wondering, the forecaster's name at the Storm Prediction Center is Goss. At least he did the day 3 outlook. This would be the outlook for for Friday. Well, let's see. Well, no, that's
Thursday.
Today. When it's Thursday, and he's got the tri-state area in general thunderstorm coverage. And I personally, we talked about this last night. How can that be? I mean, I think the atmosphere is going to be much too stable, much too cool for any convective activity. But he threw in the chance for thunderstorms up here, so we'll mention it. But I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to get that activity. I think it's going to stay mostly south of the Mason-Dixon line on Thursday, but we'll see how this all pans out.
Yeah, sometimes when the warm front gets close, if you got enough vertical motion going on, you'll see a thunderstorm ahead of a warm front. But I'm on the same page with you. The marine layer looks to be pretty tough. So I was a little surprised also by seeing the general thunderstorm activity as far north as they have it. But you know what? Uh, they do surprise. They do surprise us with their knowledge because they have a lot of it. Um, I don't want to imply that we have more because we certainly don't. If you remember back weeks ago when they put up that heavy snow area in eastern PA, and everybody sat around scratching their heads trying to figure out
Uh-huh.
why, and
Yeah.
it turned
Guess what?
yeah, and it turned out it was a very good call from their respect.
Absolutely. And well, you never know. You just never know. And I see the circle of death has arrived in
Yeah,
my
I'm
vicinity.
noticing it. I'm noticing here some signal issues going on. I don't understand why. I have a direct connection as opposed to doing it off the wireless, and it was fine up until a couple of weeks ago, and then it started this crap. So I'm not really sure why it does this.
I I told you had to go down and ask Sam Drucker about this.
Yeah, I
He
suppose
he probably could tell you.
everybody here just like they used to share the same one telephone line with party lines. Everybody's here is
Right.
on like the same cable. We're all pulling stuff off at the same time. So if everybody's watching Netflix right now, you're impacting our show. Turn the TV off.
Hmm. Barry Goldberg, thank you for hitting super chats. Barry, I think just had a birthday.
Yes,
Was it
happy
yesterday or the
birthday,
day before?
Barry. 2 days ago, I think it
So
was.
happy birthday to you. I'm going to stop now because that's as far as my voice is going to go. Joe, tomorrow will be your day, not your birthday, but I think tomorrow you'll be in the thick of things in terms of possible severe weather. You're going to be, I guess, awfully close to the slight risk area that they have for tomorrow.
Yes.
Um, so who knows? You may have some problems tomorrow because maybe you'll be running into some convection of your own.
Well, why don't we take a look and see what's going on? I got Tornado HQ up tonight. There's actually 3 tornado warnings that are up at the moment. You can see them there all next to each other. And this is in Mississippi. So the first one is a severe thunderstorm. This was issued 10 minutes ago for Choctaw, Clark, and Washington counties in Alabama. Okay, I'm sorry, that's probably the one that's furthest to the east. We have a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Fruitdale, or about 12 miles southwest of Chatham, Chatom, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour, really gunning it. Um, Two special marine warnings that are up in Louisiana, one in Lake Pontchartrain, and thunderstorm capable of producing waterspouts, and then a second one in Terrebonne Bay, all of which I know of since I've been to these places. This one also thunderstorm capable of producing of waterspouts, and that's moving northeast at 35. 40 minutes ago, with a tornado warning that's going to expire in about 4 minutes. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado in Wayne County in Mississippi. This was 9 miles southwest of Clara, or 12 miles northeast of Richton, moving northeast at 40. And the last one is also going to expire in 3 minutes. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado 7 miles east of Waynesboro, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. So they're all chugging along, but there were a lot more warnings last night than there were tonight. Both nights, SPC had a moderate risk of severe weather. But looking at the radar, the line does not look as vibrant as it did as what we saw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't sound so disappointed. The last thing you
No,
want to see is
no, I'm
something.
not
No, yeah,
disappointed at
but
all.
yeah. Well, who's to say tomorrow night, though, it might be a little bit more robust than what we're seeing right now. Um, One thing you have to tip your cap to the folks over at the Storm Prediction Center because they have been ballyhooing this potential now for the better part of a week, and sure enough, it has indeed transpired, and will be with us again. We'll be with the areas down in the um, southeast tomorrow, and we'll be edging off the coast when we get to Thursday. So we still have another couple of more days of nastiness out there in terms of severe weather. And it looks like up here, Joe, we had a lovely day today. It was about 3 or 4 degrees cooler than it was yesterday. And now we are going to be going under the influence of that onshore flow, that easterly flow, which will make it feel downright raw here over the next couple of days coming up. And looking at long range, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I want to tell you, it looks pretty darn chilly, if not downright cold. We
Yes.
kick off the start of next week.
Well, we got a blocking pattern developing. A little bit of a blocking high over Greenland, and this was something we didn't see all winter long, and we're seeing it now. Usually you get into blocky patterns in the spring from time to time. That's not unusual, but we went the whole winter with not seeing anything even remotely resembling a block. And of course, the snow lovers are all upset because, well, it is the end of March, beginning of April. But yeah, and the thing is, this time of year, if you want to seasonally adjust, which I like to do when you look at these things, the average high at the end of March is usually in the mid 50s. So if you get a day where temperatures top out, say, in the low to mid 40s, you're 10 degrees below normal. That's kind of like having a day in January where the daytime highs don't get out of the 20s. So,
Right.
just to give you maybe more of an apples to apples comparison, it's just that this time of year, the ground temperatures tend to warm up, responding to the strong sun. But it does get cold at night. We'll probably be seeing lows down in the 20s, and maybe not that far inland away from the coast. You might even see temperatures down in the teens come early next week for morning lows. But in the meantime, the radar up in the northeast showing a little bit of stuff aloft down in southern Pennsylvania, but most of that's drying up. The main action is still pretty far to the west. And other than that, it's quiet from Maine all the way down to Florida, even over me in Georgia here, in North Georgia. I'm still a ways away from any kind of rain, which is good because I like to get the dog out there before the rainfall starts, any kind of rain starts falling. And we're also seeing rain up into the Great Lakes, the lower Great Lakes, some snow on the northwest side of this. Uh, Very elongated north-south system here, Joe. Most of the energy seems to be going up more to the north than it is to the east, at least at the moment.
Yes. And I'm just looking on the chat board here at a few comments. Um, and Johnny Quest says, there's a tropical cyclone heading to the west, heading toward the west coast of Australia. Although we don't normally stay on top of such things as I think they call tropical cyclones down in Australia. Or at least they used to call them willy willies.
Willy
So
Willies, yes.
willy willies, yes.
I wonder how that came about. Um, by the way, I just want to mention all the best to the chairman, Scott Briller. He may be lurking on the chat board, and all the best to his mom as you know he's taking care of her, and we just want to wish them both well.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
okay, so here's the look on the satellite, and now you start to look at this. If you think back to what we saw yesterday and the day before, how well defined the upper features were, you get that rotation, sort of that classic signature starts to form on the satellite. Tonight's just looks a little bit more stretched out because a lot of the energy with the upper low is now moving more toward the north than it is to the east. Still, it is producing some rather strong thunderstorms. You can see on the southern end where all the bright white enhanced clouds are. But again, yesterday was just a very busy day in East Texas. I don't know if you saw the video today, Joe, of the that was shot with the red truck that rolled over and the guy just kept on driving because it rolled over, and I think it rolled back up, and he was able to keep going. It was pretty
I
wild
saw
to
that.
see.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty wild to
Yes.
see, and pretty, very lucky that he was able to get
Yes.
upright. But that's not something I want to go through.
No. No.
So,
I wonder. I mean, he must have, when he landed on all four wheels again, he says, "Oh, well, that was interesting." Pushed the gas and off he went again.
exactly. The Storm Prediction Center. Okay, well, we still have a moderate risk on the maps. Let me just give this a quick refresh because sometimes they like to mess with me and update their maps after I've opened my mouth. But there you can see in that there's 3 working tornado watches there. A lot of the boxes, the moderate risk kind of lays over uh, the three boxes, and one of those tornado watch boxes is shrinking as the line moves further to the east. So that's a plus. And we're seeing uh, the marginal risk pushed up into Tennessee, and then the enhanced and slight, of course, surrounding the moderate risk. We don't have an enhanced risk for tomorrow. I have a sneaking suspicion that we might wind up seeing a small area of enhanced risk when we get to tomorrow morning. Just a guess on my part. But for now, 2 slight risk areas. One from the over the Florida Panhandle, except for the western part. It's more central and then east into North Florida. Most of Georgia, except the Northwest. Almost all of South Carolina and almost all of North Carolina. They've pushed the marginal risk back up to in Virginia up to about the Maryland state line to about Washington, D.C., and over Chesapeake Bay. Then there's another area of slight risk they've indicated over a good chunk of the state of Ohio and northeastern Indiana on the northern end. But if you notice this part, if you notice the shape of the marginal risk, okay, and I saved this from yesterday, and it's still there. Uh, that that little U that's down that goes bends down into West Virginia and Western Virginia. That's the warm fronts getting pinned down across Virginia and offshore by the cool marine air that's to the northeast that's sort of pressing down. It's just like in the wintertime when you get a high up in New England and that cold air just sort of wedges down the Appalachians. This one's a little different in terms of where the high is, but the impact is the same, and that's why Joe and I are wondering why have the general thunderstorms so far north and northeast into western New England. This actually carries into Thursday morning, so maybe they're thinking that the warm front's going to eventually try to move up far enough north to get us a little bit warm sectored on Thursday, late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning. Not sure.
I really don't think that that's going to be the case. I've seen a number of cases where when we get into the easterly marine air flow, that it pretty well holds. And you look and you hope that some of that mild air, that you hope the warm front is going to work its way through, but it never does. It never
It
does.
almost
So
never
what I'm
does.
thinking, Joe,
Yeah.
is just, and I'm just thinking that Thursday is going to be one of those continuous, dull, dank, dreary days with probably rain, which may peter out a bit during the midday and the afternoon, but certainly not becoming showery in nature. And we're not going to see any kind of a warming trend that would help to lead to maybe a little convection later in the day. I think it's just going to be just a blah kind of day on Thursday. So, well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if they cut back on the thunderstorm risk for the Northeast on Thursday in the next convective outlook that is issued for tomorrow.
And on Thursday, they do have a marginal risk for northern and central Florida, coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, into the southern portion of the Delmarva Peninsula, and they still got that general thunderstorm line going all the way up almost to Boston. I don't know. I agree with you. I think it might be pushing it here. And we always like to look at that day 4 to 8 outlook because, as we've been saying the last couple of days, and and we've said it many times before, when it shows up in the long range, when SPC's got it in the long range, it tells you to pay attention. So they've got potential too low for days 4, 5, and 6, and predictability too low in days 7 and days 8. So at least for now, they don't have much to speak of here in the long range. So why don't we take a look at what's going on upstairs? And we've got the new GFS, which I have not looked at.
By the way, I'm looking at the WPC's surface map. What they have, Joe, on Thursday, actually Wednesday night, is they have a low pressure system near Chicago.
You want to share
an
it?
Occluded front. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so
yes.
Give me a moment here. Let's put you back up on the screen. And you're good to go. You're on the air.
I can just hang on. Oh my goodness! Come on. Too many windows. Too many. You did not disable the screen sharing.
Oh, I didn't? Oh God,
You did not.
One moment.
All kinds of technical problems tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
You mean I didn't enable it? I just enabled it.
Right.
It was
okay.
It was disabled.
All right. Well,
so it's all yours.
All right. What do I want? Ah, yes. So here we are, and let me just. I don't want to loop. I don't want to loop.
Didn't you hear me the first time?
And now I can't. What is this? Oh dear me!
What do you do? I'm working on some other maps to follow you, so I'm not looking.
All right. Well, this is for Wednesday night at 8 p.m. You see the low here approaching Chicago. Occluded front here. This is the triple point. This is where the occluded, the warm, and the cold front meet. This is now over southwestern Ohio. Now, when we get to this is Wednesday night now. Then when we get to Thursday morning, the triple point is now advanced across. Excuse me. This is this is Wednesday night. I'm so confused. This is Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. All right. So now I'm going to move it to Thursday morning. Thursday morning, 7 or 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You see they have a low pressure system on the triple point located along the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. So now, if that be the case, if they're expecting some kind of a storm development or a low pressure wave development near the triple point, that may be the reason why they are going for general thunderstorm activity here on Thursday. Where are they on Thursday night? Okay, so Thursday night, the triple point, the storm is gone. The triple point has moved off to our east. So that is the catalyst. That is the reason, or their reasoning for putting a thunderstorm in the forecast, or a possible thunderstorm in the forecast for Thursday, is they're anticipating the triple point to be in our vicinity and to move east across the area during the course of the day on Thursday. So now there's your explanation, Joe.
Well, sometimes with those triple points, you can get thunderstorms. We've seen that happen often enough.
Yes, we have seen that quite a bit.
I am trying.
And maybe it'll happen on Thursday.
Yeah. I'm trying to get there was a severe weather outbreak around this date, or just before this date, back in 1976. Mike Azara had messaged me about this, and he wanted us to do something on the air. And I've been trying to find. I can't find that link that I had that had the maps that go back before 1985. I don't know if you have it.
Oh,
do you have it?
Let me try something. So it was on this date in 1976?
March 21st, 1976.
Okay, well, hang on for a second.
Well, while you look for that, I'm going to I'll go to the upper air and do a little long range, and then we can come back and take a look at that. Uh, honestly, from my childhood memories, I don't remember a severe weather outbreak happening at that time of year, but that's just me. I don't. I could barely tell you what I had for dinner tonight. So, which by the way was which was I made lamb chops for the first time in ages, and it was delicious. So let's take a look at the upper air. And what I want you to focus on, folks, is what's going on up in on the upper middle. So we're basically going to look at the Arctic region and across to Greenland. Okay, so this whole area in here, and you'll notice that at least from the start, and I've gone back to Sunday, we have upper lows running around all over the place. One to the northwest of Greenland, another one that's on the shores there, another one that's south of Greenland and east of Newfoundland. But basically, you have lower pressures up there. That is not a signature for uh, a um, a blocking pattern. You want higher than normal pressures there because that suppresses the jet to the south. And of course, if you look at the flow across Canada and then across the United States, it's pretty much west to east. Weather systems moving along, troughs moving along. There's no real access to any kind of cold Canadian air. But watch what happens as we go through the rest of this week and into the weekend. All those the lower pressures over the Arctic and over the North Atlantic not only disappear, but they're replaced by very strong. See that big purple spot there in the Davis Strait? That is very strong high pressure aloft that's building all across the Arctic region and over Greenland and back to Iceland and north of the Azores. So we're going to a blocky pattern. And I like to call it a blocky pattern as opposed to a full scale blocking pattern. But definitely has a blocky look to it. And you'll notice also that the upper flow at this stage of the game. So we've gone from what I had drawn earlier, where it was all low pressure up there in the north, and this sort of west to east flow across the U.S. and Canada. Now, as we head into next week, you'll notice that the upper flow is a bit different. You've got energy that's coming into the west. Come on, there you go. A little paint box issue there, but now we got it. But now, if you follow the flow, our air is actually coming down out of Canada and into the eastern part of the United States. In fact, the Northeast, the middle, and even the South Atlantic states will probably be below normal in temperatures in a pattern like this. You still got some energy coming in to the west in California and into the northwest. There's also a trough down along 160 toward Hawaii. And I always like to, when I'm looking at a pattern like this, a trough over at 160 usually means that there's troughing or some semblance of troughing at 80 degrees west, which would be more favorable to some storminess in the eastern part of the United States, but that's not always a guarantee. And you'll notice that that blocky pattern lasts through much of next week, in fact, all of next week. So we do have weather systems moving along in the flow here, but there's a bit more of let's call it a chillier look because we're now getting into the end of the month and going into the month of April. So we've got the system here on Saturday. This first system lifts out, then we've got a little upper an upper low that moves from Michigan to about Long Island, southern New England on Saturday. It's not going to have much to work on, but that is going to bring in some colder air, and of course it only strengthens as we go through Sunday and Monday. So we're going to see some chilly
Right.
air here early next week. Then there's more energy that comes out. There's a wrapped up cutoff here that drops down through the Rockies on Tuesday and then attempts to lift up into Illinois. Now, this might be another severe weather producer down the road, but with that blockiness to the north, that's going to have a tough time going northward. It's going to want to try to go north, but then it's going to get shunted to the east to a large degree. And then we have an even deeper trough when we get toward April 3rd, April 4th, April 5th. We got a fairly cold-looking upper air here, Joe, for that first uh, 5 or 6 days of April. If this verifies, we've got a very deep-looking upper trough here in the eastern part of the United States. That's going to be quite chilly. That goes all the way down to Florida. Uh, Probably be some frosts and freezes pretty far south, and then eventually that's going to lift out. But uh, that split in the polar vortex that's just occurred is putting us in a rather chilly pattern here going into the end of March, beginning of April. I don't know how long it lasts, though. I mean, after the first week or so of April, we might see this pattern break down again. But it's awfully interesting to see a setup like this. That's not a shabby looking trough there that sets up from James Bay all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico around the 4th or 5th of April if it verifies.
It would figure because baseball season, the delayed baseball season, is due to begin, I believe, on April 7th. And why is it that whenever baseball season is expected to start, that the weather always seems to turn unseasonably cold or unseasonably chilly in one part of the country? And it looks like this is going to be for, again, the northeastern part of the country. They're going to be dealing with that chill just in time for the first baseball of the season to be thrown out. So it's amazing.
Well, I'm going to run through the GFS surface. Were you able to find that date?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So you hang on one second. Let me just run through the surface here and see what we got. I'll pull the full U.S. up. Let's come on. Now I'm getting I got a giant cross on my map. There we go. So let's all right, these maps are loading. Appreciate your patience, folks. Believe me, it's frustrating uh, on my end trying to get, I try to set up stuff ahead of time and not to have the internet power to do it, but they're laying that broadband line on the main road, so every day we're one day closer. All right, so here we go. So here's Thursday, and you see the pinching of the isobars in the Northeast, which is what Joe and I have been talking about with that warm front pinned to the south. Yeah, it gets close by Thursday morning, Joe. The warm front gets close, but you're right. There's another little low that forms almost on top of us. I mean, I suppose you could get a thunderstorm out of that. I don't know. And then that goes out. Of course, we're going to see slow improvement as we head into Friday and Saturday. Then remember, we have this upper low that's coming down on Saturday. There we go. The maps are slowly but surely coming in. And you see it does produce snow in and around the Great Lakes, some lake effect, and even a couple of rain showers down near the coast Saturday afternoon and evening. And then that goes out, and Sunday looks chilly and on the breezy side, if not maybe even windy for a while, with a low developing over Nova Scotia and a nice little high that's coming down near Lake Winnipeg. That holds in. We get into Tuesday. There's one of these 1,000-mile warm fronts that the GFS loves to do. There's an 89 low, Joe, next Wednesday morning. There's an 89 low in northern Texas near Amarillo, and a warm front that arcs from there across northern Illinois and then comes around and down to the Virginia coast. And it actually has snow in northern New Jersey and over Long Island and northeastern Pennsylvania with some freezing rain in central PA. And it holds it there during the day. That's kind of odd, but again, it's a long ways away. And that low winds up going up towards Chicago, but never gets there, and then it just starts to slowly translate to the east. So with the blocking pattern, you have to wonder whether the model's just way overdone with this, and it might wind up being flatter and further south, something like what the European did yesterday and last night. Then that goes out. Then you got another low that comes out of Texas and heads up to Ohio around April 4th. And then there's a coastal low that the GFS has off the North Carolina coast on the 6th that it runs up to about, southeast of Cape Cod with a cold rain along for the coastal areas and maybe a little bit of snow on the northwest side, but not going to be fun. I mean, from at least from the standpoint, regardless of what the model shows specifically, there is energy running around. There is a block, but it is also early April. So if you're a snow lover and you're looking at this and you're thinking, well, maybe something could happen. Well, yeah, maybe something could happen, but it's going to have to be absolutely perfect in order for that to occur. But you never know with blocks sometimes. If you're going to have something happen in early April that involves snow, if you've got a polar connection of some kind, it's not impossible. That's all
Oh,
I'll
it's
say.
not.
So
Not at all.
you've got the
David Carter, I'm sorry to interrupt you. David Carter, thank you very much for hitting Super Chat. We appreciate it.
so you got
And I do have the map,
you
Joe. If you,
all right, you go for it.
all righty, let me just set this up here. So,
La 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 la.
I believe I have the correct date. We were looking at what, March 21st or 22nd?
I think it's the 21st.
Well, you can see that we have some sort of low pressure system north of the Great Lakes, but a most definite cold front that stretches on down through Michigan, Indiana, down to Arkansas. So the front seems to be right about here. Look at all this warm air, that southwesterly flow out ahead of the weather front here along the Atlantic seaboard. Now, if we jump, let's say we jump to the 22nd and go to that, and you'll see that now the low is up into eastern Canada, and the front is now just, what time is this now? This is 0Z. Okay, so this is March 21st. We were not on daylight time at that time of the year. That's when we had some logic and sense in our society. It was March 21st, March 21st, 7 p.m. March 21st, 7 p.m. So the front has just moved through. So I would say during the afternoon hours of that day, that's when we had some convection. That's when we had showers and storms. And so supposedly this was a severe event for us. I really don't remember this.
Yeah, I don't
Just like
remember.
you, Joe.
I don't remember it either. But looking at that upper air, that's a pretty uh, sharp looking trough there that moved on through.
Right, right. So it must have been a few potent possum pounders, if you will, on that particular day. And then in the days in the next day, let's see, let's go to the 23rd. I would presume we're into a dry airflow by then. Go. Oh yeah, look at that. High pressure just covering, and a much cooler air mass, I might add. And look at this, Joe. The 540. Here's the 540. It's all the way to the south, and there's the 510, which is up across northern Maine. So yeah, this is a pretty cool, but probably also a pretty dry air mass that followed in the wake of what was a very warm airflow just a couple of days before, and then accompanied by thunderstorms and showers with that front again on the afternoon and evening of the 21st. This again is the afternoon and evening of the 22nd.
Now I'm looking at this, Joe. I'm just reading. Just pulled up a link from the Weather Service. This is. All right, now I don't know if this might be. This doesn't look like New Jersey to me. This looks like. Yeah, no, this is apparently on the 20th of March 20th marks the 25th anniversary. This is from Detroit, Michigan. So apparently on the day there was an F4 tornado in West Bloomfield, not in West Bloomfield, New Jersey, but in West Bloomfield in Bloomfield in Michigan. So this was on March 20th. There was an F4 there. One death, 55 injured, 50 million, or about 155 million in $2001. So it's probably double that now. in 2022 dollars. I'm just trying to see if there's so apparently on the day before there was severe weather that occurred up in the up in that region. I'm trying to see if there's anything here with respect to New Jersey, and let me give it one more check. Let me put New Jersey in there so see if anything comes up. Ta, ding. Uh, nope. Oh, here's something. Let's see. No, that's not it. This is, I think this is might be Hagerstown, Maryland, on the 21st in 1976. On that day, an EF3. Let me make sure that's the case. I don't see anything because he did mention the fact that in Trenton they had 80 or 85 mile an hour winds from some of the thunderstorms that went through. But I'm trying to, I'm just trying to see. This is from, I'm sorry, this is down in Houston. Okay, never mind. I'm just trying to see on Wikipedia. So that was down in Houston, what I just mentioned. So he says, Mike says, that day a massive squall line blasted through the mid-Atlantic in the afternoon. Wind gust of 85 miles an hour measured in Trenton, New Jersey. Yeah, there's not much.
What day was that?
This was on the 21st of March, 1976. So um, there's nothing. There's not much. I probably would have to go deeper into Google to find something, but there wasn't anything on the first two pages. But anyway, we did at least we got to see the maps. And Frank Riccio says, well, and this is true. 1976 was also the year of the Easter weekend heat wave with 3 days with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. That I remember. That I remember.
Well, that was 1976, April 18th, 1976.
Right. That I remember. I don't remember the severe weather outbreak from the month before. But as I said earlier, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just that it just means that we don't remember it because we're too old.
Well, hold on. As Quick Drawer McGraw used to say, hold on, Bubba boy. Boy, you really have to be going back a while to remember that.
Way back.
Way back. Well, where do you think Howard Stern got Baba Booey from? It was not Baba Booey, it was Baba Louie.
Baba Louie.
That's right. You know, hey Baba boy, are you all right? Side-eyed.
It's all right.
I have here. Let's once again share this. See how this is great how technology works. Where are you, Joe?
I don't know. I'm here. You should be able to do it. I didn't touch anything.
Well, you're not. Oh, oofa. As my grandfather used to say, oofa. I'm trying to get. Let me see if I can make the. Can I?
Is it minimized on the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Give the old guy some time. He'll find it.
Yes.
Yes. So here you go. This is the New York Times for March 22nd, 1976. A story: violent storms strike the Northeast. Temperatures in city drop 10 degrees in a half an hour. And this was a report that was written by Wolfgang Saxon. Violent thunderstorms with gale force winds hit parts of the northeastern states yesterday afternoon, striking erratically, causing widespread injuries and damage, even cutting short a late St. Patrick's Day parade in western Massachusetts. Roofs and trees were blown over in the metropolitan area, along with a tennis bubble in Brooklyn. I don't remember any of this.
No, I don't.
Two cranes were toppled into Baltimore Harbor. A Philadelphia radio station was knocked off the air, and thousands of Connecticut residents were left without electricity for a time before the storms moved on quickly to reach an area east of Cape Cod by nightfall. The brief but furious onslaught turned Times Square dark in mid-afternoon, and temperature dropped 10 degrees in a half an hour. And the rest of the story
continued on page 28,
continued on the next page 4. Or whatever.
No, page
whatever.
28.
But Contingent on page 28, column 4. So there you are.
All right. So
anyway,
if the time said it happened, it happened.
Yes.
And there
it
you
did.
have it. Okay. So that pretty much kind of sums up the night tonight.
So who has Burler Jeopardy? I guess
actually neither of us do.
Or?
No. Scott messaged me
Oh.
today. He's taking a bit of a break for the next few weeks. He's got things to do. Was taking care of his mom. So we, as we said earlier, we'll say it again. We wish you both very well, and I could understand the need to take a break. Believe me, because I want to take a break too. But we
Right.
haven't figured that out yet.
Now tomorrow night, our show tomorrow night begins at 7:00.
Yay!
Because at 8:00 I have to do a presentation for the Astronomical Society of Long Island virtually. So that's why we have to do things tomorrow a half an hour earlier than we normally would. So there you go.
Yes. So tomorrow night, folks, 7:00 Eastern Time, as per Joe Rayo. Thanks for the super chat hits tonight. Joe and I appreciate that greatly. And the crowds are small this time of year. This always happens in March. I went back and looked, Joe, during the month of March. If there's no snow threats and at all, or once the snow threats disappeared, everybody just takes like a big, I don't know, they all take a vacation during the month of March as far as weather is concerned. It picks up again in April for some reason. I don't know why, but anyhow, but I could understand it. It's a long, the winter information starts early, and then it's almost nonstop until you get into the early part of March, and then you want it to just go away, and that's kind of how we feel about it because we're tired. It's a long stretch.
Yes.
So totally understandable. So Steve Lapointe says, "Where's Joe Chaffee is here?" Okay. Oh, where is here? Well, right now I'm in North Georgia. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm not sure what that's referencing because whatever it's referencing, I've already forgotten it. I'm 63. Okay, and why Barry Goldberg said Desi Arnaz, I don't know, but he responding to something. I don't, I just pulled the chat board up. So anyway, whatever it was, I can't trace it back. Okay, so
well,
that's
I don't understand what David Carter said. I just saw your comment, Tom. Good, although Mr. Rayo is not as we know. Ha ha ha. I don't understand that either.
I think they're reveling over the fact that we can't remember that date in 1976.
No, I do not remember that date.
No, I don't. I don't either. I have no recollection of that at all. Of course, we either.
I remember. I do remember. I do remember in March of 1976 we had a spectacular comet in the sky, Comet West, and I was working with Joe Whitty at Channel 2, helping him with reports on that comet, and he was doing it on Channel 2. And one night, Joe, I called up. I asked for Joe Whitty, and I got Alan Casper. And Casper said, "Are you the guy who's doing all the stuff with Joe Whitty with the comet?" And I said, yeah, I am. He said, "Well, I just want to say I don't like it." And he hung up on me. And this is the man that years later was practically begging me to fax him the long-range maps from the WSI maps that we were getting at News 12. And I'm saying, should I really do this for a guy who hung up on me once? That's
Timothy, I understand. I figured it out. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. Anyhow, is Joe Whitty still on the air? I don't know, Tom. I know he doesn't get back on.
No.
I know he doesn't respond to emails very often, but
no.
What's it been now?
He works for NASA.
What's it been now? 2 years ago that he agreed to come on the show?
He agreed 2 years ago, and I said, okay, we'd like to have you whenever next week.
And I'll
never heard from never heard from Joe again after that.
Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Oh well, I don't know.
By the way, I know you're a big William Frawley, you're a big Fred Mertz fan,
Oh,
Joe.
of course.
And William Frawley, for the first 5 years of its run on My Three Sons, William Frawley played the grandfather. His name was Bub.
Bubba, right? Bub.
On Bub, and he had to leave. They forced him out because they said that the insurance for his medical situation was getting way too high, and so they just simply said, we can't have you on anymore. And that's when midstream they sent him on a trip to Ireland to visit his 104-year-old aunt. Can you? I don't know who thinks these things up. 104-year-old aunt. He flew off to Ireland and was never heard from again. And the very next episode, the very next show, in came William Demarest, who played Uncle Charlie. I only mention this because I think later this week, I'll find out if it's Thursday or Friday. If you've ever wanted to see that episode where William Frawley is given the boot, it will be on Me TV, which carries My Three Sons at 6:30 in the morning. If you care to get up that early, I know you're up that early, Joe.
Well,
Me TV.
They also married off the oldest son, and early on in the series,
Tim Considine.
Right, and he was never spoken of again. It's like he never existed. And then they had to bring on.
Well, actually, when they married Fred McMurray several years later, he married, I forget who the actress was.
Beverly Garland.
Beverly Garland, that's right. And in one of those episodes, somebody asks him about, how many sons do you have and everything, and he says, well, I have 3 sons who live with me, and I also have another son who lives out of state. That was it. That was the last time anybody. And Tim Considine simply said, I want out. I don't want to play this role anymore. And so they married him off to Meredith McCrae, I might add, who eventually became Billy Joe on Petticoat Junction.
Right.
So.
And then the same thing happened, I believe, to the oldest, who now was the second oldest. So, was it Rob Grady that played?
Robbie, yeah.
Yeah. So he left the show, and So how real is this? He leaves Tina Cole, who's pregnant, and of course she can't have one kid. They got to have her having triplets. Okay.
This is after they had the triplets.
Right.
After
so he goes off on a mission in some poor country for 18
South America.
Right. And every once in a while they'd have a scene where he'd call up on the telephone. Yeah, that would happen. Your wife has triplets, and you're just gonna leave her to go, to go on some mission down in South America or something. Oh God, you're right.
Yeah, and Tim Considine, who played the first missing son, he leaves, but he never came back. Even after Robbie got married.
Right.
I mean, his brother.
Right.
Even after his father got married, you figure that he would have played a cameo appearance, but he never returned. I guess they never asked him. So
he actually, I think past Tom Contino said he died a couple of weeks ago. I remember seeing. I think I saw something, an obit somewhere about it too. So he's no longer with us.
And so did Robbie. Don Grady, I think, played Robbie.
Yes.
And he died. So now the only 2 sons left, and the only 2 sons left are actually brothers.
Chip and Ernie. Yes, Barry and
Chip and Ernie. They actually are
Barry
brothers.
and Stanley.
Right.
Yes. All right. Well,
I don't know how we got on this subject.
I don't either. So let's roll. Let's call it a night. Thanks for being here, folks. And finishing off with that little bit of TV history. Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at what time? I can't hear you.
7 p.m.
7
p.m.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we'll see you then, folks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.